Kane Cornes. Thanks to Sportsbet. I'm Sarah, Olle and Kane. Plenty was made about the Cats' cushy run into September. In theory, today against the Swans, it should have been harder, but Chris Scott's men confirmed they are really ready at another premiership tilt this finals campaign. It was a 43-point win. It was convincing.
Yeah, it was. I thought just a really professional performance. Like they were challenged early and Sydney jumped out of the blocks, but this is the forward line that we want to focus on because it was no Jezza today. Jezza just the 10 disposals and didn't kick a goal, but it didn't matter because of the amount of options that this Geelong side has. So Neil kicks 4, Manor kicks 3, Stengel is back to some of his better form. He kicked a couple of rippers. There's Jack Martin. He kicked a couple. Brian Myers, just the 11 goals leading into this season, not a prolific goal scorer, but kicked 2 today. So they have so many options. Dempsey can push down from the wing. They kicked 16 goals. They had 31 scoring shots. And defensively, that was the most impressive thing. They kicked 11 goals off Sydney turnovers. So the team that wins the premiership this year will be the team that defends the best and also scores the heaviest off their turnovers, particularly in the front half. So for Geelong to go there against a side that's been in really good form and a danger, they would have loved to have ruined the season and get it done. A couple of really good tagging jobs. Mullen and O'Connor did a ripping job on Isaac Heaney. So just a professional performance in a hostile environment from a side that we haven't really spoken a lot about, but I think over the next week we are going to speak a lot about.
I know, it sounds silly to be sleeping on the Cats, who also have almost a clean bill when it comes to injuries as well, which certainly helps when it comes to September. So they finished this round in top 2, Kane. It looks like they will secure a top 2 finish with Richmond to come next week. I mean, is there a weakness in this side who's just been building nicely?
Yeah, so the thing that they'd be most pleased about, I reckon, was Tom Stewart back into form. And De Koning looked rock solid as well today. So Tom Stewart, he's been really down on form. Now, part of that is because of that knee that he's been carrying for the majority of the year. But 25 today, went at 80% by foot, 4 intercept marks, him and De Koning behind the ball with Henry. So that, I think that's the most pleasing thing. And maybe they're one midfielder short, but I don't know. Bailey Smith and Max Holmes, who didn't have his biggest game today, Holmes, maybe that covers for it. Dangerfield fresh, they've been able to manage him. So to answer your question, they're in as good a shape as anyone.
What about Harry Sheezel? He was in pretty good shape today down in Hobart at Ninja Stadium. 54 touches, if you don't mind, Caney, equals Tom Mitchell's all-time record. He had his own football today.
I just want to say getting 54 touches is unbelievable. So well done to Harry for doing that and the game that he played today, the work rate that is required to get yourself 50 plus, 54, nearly broke the all-time record. That's the good. How about the lack of any respect from Richmond? Like if you had 28 at halftime, which he did, I think you'd probably put someone near him. Now, I volcanoed Adamuze last week for his last half against Wanganeen-Millera. If anyone's going to beat you, it's going to be Wanganeen-Millera, and he let him do pretty much this. This is the mirror image of what he allowed Nasai to do last week and what he's allowed Harry to do today. Now, it's just a really bizarre one for me, Adamuze, and the prolific midfielders that are getting career numbers against Richmond. Now, look at Harry. He's on the ground. And then no one goes anywhere near him. He gets up, no one within 10 metres of him. And of course, good players are going to make you pay. So I'm really bemused, I guess is the word, over Adamuze's tactics. And last week I said David King questioned whether he really wanted to win with the tactics against Wanganeen-Millera. Well, this is going to do nothing to alleviate those questions. And I think it's a real issue that he's got to work out with his midfield. What sort of midfield do they want to be next year? Because you can't allow players like that. And also LDU had 40 as well. Let's have a listen to Adamuze, who was asked about it after the game.
Yeah, he's obviously a very good player. At half-time, I think he had 20 odd, and the game was in the balance. The third quarter, I didn't see that as being a big issue, especially early. He did go forward and kick a couple of goals. So we had Rossi. Jack Ross went to him for a little bit, and then obviously he's good enough to just go and change positions and move forward. But yeah, I think he ended up with 12 or 13 in the last quarter. We kicked 6 goals. So you're always looking at those numbers. But, yeah, he obviously had a great game and he's a terrific kid.
Yeah, I think he probably needs to check his numbers again. So it was 28. It was 9 score involvements and a goal at halftime for Sheezel, and then nothing after halftime in terms of attention. And this is the numbers that I'm referring to. Look at that if you are a good midfielder and you play against Richmond, happy days. So I don't know what the tactics are from Adam Uze. I don't know if he cares. I don't know if winning is a priority, but all those questions should be in front of him as they assess what's been a pretty positive season on expectations to this point.
Well, we've learned a few things about Adam Uze. Either he doesn't watch First Up or he does watch it, Kane, but he doesn't give a stuff about what you think. Just another word on Harry Sheezel, though. I mean, he's only 20 years old, 54 touches. It's only been the 11th time that a player has recorded 50 or more touches. I mean, he's in some great form. We need to give him his flowers as well.
No, I felt like I tried to
You
before I got
tried.
into the vision.
A little bit.
I said that is anyone who gets 50, amazing. So I'll say it again for your benefit, for our audience's benefit. Anyone getting 50, the work rate, the discipline, the commitment, the desire to do that is unbelievable. Like this is record numbers. Only one person's done it ever before, and there was a chance that he was going to break the all-time record. So Harry, well done.
Dipping the hat to Harry. I like it. I think it was a pretty predictable outcome, though, at Marvel Stadium. Just a game that's finished between the Western Bulldogs and the West Coast Eagles. In the end, Kane, Luke Beveridge's side, they saluted by 94 points. I mean, this is what they've done all season against weaker opposition, isn't it?
It is, but it's a win, and it's a big, prolific win. Mm-hmm. So look at that's young Croft, who played his first game, and look, there's something there. They're absolutely stacked with young players, with middle tier players, with core group of players coming through together, and for veteran stars. So for them to kick 19 goals today, to hold West Coast to 4, questions over their defensive actions this year, and to be fair, the last 4 years under Luke Beveridge. So you keep aside the 4 goals, like that is an outstanding performance, puts them in a really good position to not only win next week and qualify, but to go deep into this finals campaign. Because as I've said all year, their list is absolutely capable of winning this premiership, and that should be their goal with the amount of talent that they've got, and that was on display again today.
Hey, but they've got to win next week. And ostensibly, it is an elimination final. Come early against Fremantle, who must travel over to Marvel Stadium next Saturday. I mean, whoever wins, they're playing finals. Whoever loses, they are out, and it will be a wasted season. You were very strong last week on Fremantle's tall forward line and that it might not be working. We found further evidence of that, didn't we, against Brisbane?
We did, and I mean, part of it was their ball movement, and there was a bit of a lack of dare, unfortunately, for Fremantle with that. They were a bit spooked, but here's the numbers, and you just can't get away from these numbers, particularly with Amos. So I spoke last week about his form against Port Adelaide, didn't touch the footy until there was 8 minutes to go in the third term. Had a couple of nice touches after that, but nothing again from Amos. Voss was well held. Tracy had some brain fade moments that you wouldn't see, and I mean, Luke Jackson, they tried to play as a midfielder, but he was just ineffective. He was chewed up and spat out by Brisbane's midfield. So they're that far down the path of doing this. I don't think that there will be a change in the lead up to what is essentially a final this week under a roof against a side that may be a little bit vulnerable behind the ball with their back six, if there's one area of concern for the Western Bulldogs. But these players have got to give more. Like Amos has got to give more. You can't be playing a game of footy and touching it 3 times for a whole game. So that's on him. That's on him to respond in a big, big way, as it is on the rest of his teammates, because they really lowered their colours on Friday night, didn't they, at home?
Right here, right now, who wins, Kane, the Dogs or the Dockers?
Yeah, well, I think the Dogs have won 14 of their last 16 at Marvel. So the big trip over for Freo with the form that they displayed against Brisbane on Friday night. No one in their right mind would be picking Fremantle to beat this red-hot Western Bulldog side. So I'm in my right mind. I'm going to go with the Dogs, and I think they'll be there in one of the bottom 4 positions of the top 8, and they will be a very tricky prospect for the team that gets them first up in the first week of the finals.
I'm in my right mind. I think we'll get that clipped up and circulated, but it's time now for Volcano.
Yeah, a bit of a different volcano tonight. It was quite obvious to me that the wear and tear that was going to be placed on the 30 pluses for Collingwood was going to be a lot. And that has proven to be true, and the numbers would suggest that. So I just wanted to have a look at the drop-off in the 30 pluses in their form as the year has gone on. It is such a long season. We are starting earlier, we are finishing later, and you just can't defy age. As good as they all were for the first half of the season or until round 17, and as well managed as they were, there's the reality. The drop-off is significant from all the 30-pluses, bar Pendlebury. So credit to Scott, who's probably been managed pretty well at his age, but it was just going to be such a big ask when you've got a large core group of 30-pluses to do that for the whole of the season. And it was great when they jumped the gun and got out to a really nice lead. It looked as though they were going to finish on top of the ladder 4 or 5 weeks ago. Now, not so. When you're fighting for your death, when you have to play every week and you're in a tough, brutal game in wet conditions in foreign territory against Adelaide, you get found out. Now, they had a shorter break and they didn't have to travel back from Perth. Adelaide, short break. Collingwood played Thursday night, just a short trip to Adelaide. The Crows coming back from Perth, but they're just better prepared, Adelaide, and their core group of players are in their prime and Collingwood are not, and I think that's caught up with them.
So clearly those numbers tell the story. There's been a drop-off. With the week off, though, before finals, do you think Collingwood's experience come September could be the difference in some big moments?
Yeah, well, that's going to help. I mean, that is a real blessing for them. But where do they finish? I mean, has the damage been done, Sarah? Like, I know Brisbane won it from outside the top 4. I know the Western Bulldogs have done it, but it's very rare. Like, it's very rare to win the premiership outside the top 4, particularly when there could be some interstate sides, or there will be some interstate sides in the top 8. So good luck if they have to go to Brisbane. Good luck if they have to go back to Adelaide. Who knows about Fremantle have to go to Perth. It's not the controlled environment of the MCG, which they just would not have left had their form maintained like we thought they would when they were red hot early. So it's a lot to ask. I don't know what the answers will be for their list management going forward, but I think last night showed that this season has slipped away for Collingwood in terms of winning this year's premiership.
Is the biggest issue at the moment in that forward line, that attack for Craig McRae's side?
Well, that was their strength, wasn't it? So that's the other factor for them. There's a lot of spot fires that he's got to put out and hasn't been able to do. So round 1 to 17, you can see that. They were so efficient per inside 50. Most efficient team, number 1. So that meant you didn't have to get a high number of entries, but you were making the opposition pay. Scores from turnover, I mentioned that earlier on in the show, like the best team, the team that wins a premiership, will be in the top 4 to 6 in that category. And then just points for, they were prolific. Now, ever since Craig McRae made that comment about Fremantle and them wanting or should play a bit faster, they haven't been able to score themselves. So, yeah, a lot of issues that he needs to solve and a lot of players that are suddenly out of form.
I thought it was really refreshing to see Carlton play with spirit and vigour in their win against Port Adelaide. Harry Mackay with 7 goals, a career best. He was certainly back in form, as was a teammate of his, Sam Walsh, the 28 disposals, but lots of run, which we know is his strength. Riley Beveridge, one of our colleagues on the round so far, said last night that this kind of game shows why Harry Mackay should not be up for trade. Do you share that opinion?
I can see his point of view, and I understand that 6'6" forwards of 110 kilos don't grow on trees. But I think this is perfect for Carlton. I think this form from Mackay and Walsh is perfect, just to tease the market and say, well, here's what they're capable of. So I would be having a look at what's out there. I'm not suggesting, with the weak nature of the draft by all reports, that you definitely trade them, but I'd certainly be having a look to see what is out there. If Sydney are absolutely desperate for Harry Mackay, I don't think he's ever going to get back to the consistent performer that he once was when he was winning Colemans. And with Curnow, I think that's a question mark. I think there's some concerns about his resilience with his body and, a couple of head knocks. You're always a bit nervous for Harry. And same with Sam. Like, Sam is a warrior. For him to do that off limited preparation, he amazes me. But I don't know if he's going to get any better from here, and I don't know how his body is going to hold up soft tissue, back, and the issues that he's had. So that form was great. I think it's terrific for Carlton, but I'd be testing the market, and if there's a great deal there, I'd jump at it.
And when it comes to Port Adelaide, just one game to go when it comes to their much-loved coach in Ken Hinkley. Kane, I'm going to throw a grab over, and I want you to think about it and collect your thoughts and tell us what you think about this from Ken Hinkley.
It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad it's here now. I'm sort of glad it's here, and because of the challenges this year's put upon us, we can actually particularly celebrate Trav, and I hope that's what it is. Glad it's here. I'm sick of the wait. It's been a bit of a battle to get to the end, and we've got here now. And I'm really proud of the way we as a footy club and Trav, myself, and everyone involved with our footy club have been able to keep our spirits up and our energy up to get to the end of the season with lots of challenges.
pretty honest. I mean, he's always honest, but it does give you an insight into what a disaster it's been, and not through Ken's fault and not through any of the players' fault, but for the management that have made this decision to sack a coach after a prelim final, but keep him in the chair for 12 months. It was a disaster from the moment they announced it, as much as they said, no, this won't affect our season. It was obvious to everyone that watches football and follows this game that it was going to be a disaster. And unfortunately, Ken has had to stand there all year and answer those questions about it. That's what he's referring to. I'm glad it's here. I'm sure he's absolutely sick of being asked those questions. But as I've said a couple of times this year, that is a case study for other teams on what not to do when you are ready to move on from your coach.
So it's a farewell game for Ken Hinkley and Travis Boak next week against Gold Coast at Adelaide Oval. Unfortunately, though, it looks like Ollie Wines will not be there. He's been handed a 3-match suspension for this bump on Carlton's Cooper Lord, correct?
Yep. Can you believe that, Sarah?
Yeah, well, I think the issue is the outcome for Lord with concussion there, Kane, but it is tough, isn't it? It's so outcome-based.
If you were just an alien who had been dropped from outer space on a planet Earth and you said, this is a sport, and that was the action, I showed you a TV screen and I showed you that action, and then I said to the alien, that action is causing a player to be suspended for 3 weeks, like you wouldn't believe it. You just go, no way. That sport, you penalise players 3 weeks for that action. It makes zero sense. And I get the outcome, but is that Ollie's fault? He's bumped him in the shoulder. Like that is a legal action. So yeah. I don't quite understand that. I'd be staggered if Port Adelaide don't take that straight to the tribunal. In fact, I'm sure they would have made that decision to do that now. It would have taken them 5 minutes to decide whether to challenge that. Travis Boak's last game, much loved teammate of Ollie Wines, clearly. Ken Hinkley's the only coach Ollie Wines has had his last game. I just can't cop a player, Port Adelaide or any team, missing 3 games for an action like that.
Yeah, that matrix, it's copping plenty of attention this year. It may very well be blown up by Greg Swan. But let's get to the temperature test, thanks to Sportsbet. And Kane, you've narrowed it down to 4 when it comes to the teams that are running hot. Talk me through it.
Bit of movement. I think they're the 4. If I had to put the 4 in order, I would go Brisbane, Adelaide, Hawthorn and Geelong. I think those 4 are the teams, and that is the order of the ones that are probably most likely to win the premiership this year. Who knows about the Western Bulldogs? Like, they're a real wild card. I wouldn't be surprised if they feature really deep into this final series with the amount of talent that they've got. Giants, I mean, their footy's as good as anyone. I'm nervous about Gold Coast, and I think Fremantle and Collingwood are out in terms of their prospects of winning this year's flag.
Some massive calls and plenty more to come. We'll see you next week on First Up with Kane Cornes, thanks to Sportsbet.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.